It is Sunday afternoon, the 9th of August. I'm with BNP Chairman Nick Griffin, MEP, and we're going to run through one or two headlines in the Sunday papers. I think the obvious one to start, Nick, is the one in the Sunday Telegraph. Muslim Europe, the demographic time bomb transforming the continent. Bit of a startling thing, that, isn't it?
It is, and it's nice to be able to say we told you so, but let's face it, we told them so, some years ago, so now the Telegraph's playing catch-up, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah. Some of the things in there are quite phenomenal when they refer to the migrant population multiplying. If we'd have written that, a few years back, we'd have had all kinds of criticism, wouldn't we? But
we certainly would. Criticism and probably a legal case. I think probably the most powerful thing in this Telegraph report is talk of the fact that the American military are reviewing long-term position of American air bases and military bases in Europe, because clearly, I don't think the word is used, but it's clearly unsustainable in a Muslim Europe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously they rely on a bit of tacit support here. To base one or two operations, as well as a considerable geopolitical diplomatic presence here, and that in a Muslim Europe is simply unsustainable, isn't it? It'd be like some form of a Palestinian hybrid, wouldn't it? It simply wouldn't occur. But interesting the way it leads into us as well, to say that we've been elected into the European Parliament as a beneficiary of all this, and that the other politicians seem to be asleep. Well, I would say they're not asleep. They know perfectly well what's going on, don't they?
Yeah, I know people who've spoken to senior, especially elderly conservatives, MPs and retired MPs, who said, yes, this is a disaster, it's going to happen, but it's too... In other words, they've created the mess on their watch, and now they're hoping to scuttle off into the sunset to wealthy villages in the Cotswolds, where they hope they can avoid it until it's too late for their time, which is a pretty selfish position, but that's what you expect from Tories, I guess.
Yeah, I would have thought so. And with the Labour politicians as well actually cultivating this bloc Muslim vote as well, they do everything themselves, they fall over themselves to help sustain their increasing grip on this country.
Yes, indeed.
But it leads us into something that we've been quite wrongly linked with in the Mail today. The Mail has been forced into changing its headline by our legal department this morning, as they were trying to link the unrest in Birmingham yesterday evening with something to do with us. They've had to change that because it was another lie. But what are your takings on this anti-Islamification protest by the so-called Welsh and English Defence League and the Casuals, and the counter-demonstration by the pro-Labour UAF?
Well, it's actually potentially a very dangerous development, I think. Obviously, it's interesting to see this, what appears to be a spontaneous backlash. I gather it mainly comes from Luton, and especially these casuals, these football followers and so on. It most certainly isn't a white English thing. There's certainly English and second generation Irish lads, but also Sikhs and Hindus and some West Indians, and it's all coming out of the fact that Luton, obviously the tinderbox, with the growing very aggressive young Muslim population on one side, and pretty much everybody else on the other. And clearly these people are bouncing around the place, as you know as well as I do. It is nothing to do with us. It's very good that Lee Barnes this morning has got the Mail on their website to drop the claim it's linked to us, because that claim is repeated still. I think in the Mirror, we've had Shahid Malik, as usual, trying to wind things up, blaming white people and blaming the BNP directly. He's when that man moves his lips, for sure he's lying. Whether it's about his expenses or whether it's about us. But they're playing a very dangerous game, the far left here. I think what they're doing is they perceive, the UAF group and other groups like them, they're hardcore Trotskyites, as you know. They perceive young Muslims as a potentially very radicalised or radicalisable element to turn them into stormtroopers for their leftist revolution. And they seem oblivious to the fact that it's far more likely it'll come out the other way around, and that the Muslims will use them as a springboard to have their own Islamic revolution. But in the short term, It reminds me very much of the position in Bradford just before the, was it £20 million riot that they had back there, which was absolutely sparked by what was then the so-called Anti-Nazi League, organised a demonstration against a fictitious National Front march and winding up young Muslims to fever pitch. So then, there was one spark and it all went bang in a big, big way. And I think they're perilously close to doing the same thing again.
Yeah, I think the same thing. This is why, as I say, we've impressed upon our people not to have anything to do with these protests, because sooner rather than later it's going to spark some kind of major disturbance. That may be the plan. That may be the end game by whoever's planning this. One thing I will say though is this thing isn't an organic thing. It's something that's crafted on. It's something we don't know anything about, and it's very suspicious. Whilst I got sympathy, obviously, with those demonstrating against the abuse of our troops in Luton, and indeed in the broader scale, the Islamification of the country, it's suspicious. It's been done for a reason, and I don't quite understand why. I can think of a number of reasons, but I can't quite put my finger on it yet.
Well, I think that certainly from the left side of these confrontations, it is because they want a huge conflagration between young Muslims and the police, so as to radically turn them into recruits for the Socialist Workers' Party and all the rest of them. So I think that's coming from their side. From the anti-Muslim side, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of it is genuine pent-up frustration. Interesting, of course, it's happening in places like Luton and Birmingham where we didn't make the really big electoral breakthrough. So that was a degree of frustration boiling over there, where if the powers that be had let things take their natural course, kept people like you elected, as you would have been had it not been for their attacks on us, then perhaps ordinary English people, youngsters, wouldn't feel that they had to take to the streets. But they've powers that be have done what they've done. They've made their bed, now they must lie in it. But I wonder, a lot of the people involved are genuine, if misguided. But I do wonder whether there's an element from the security services using this as a honey trap, these demonstrations, because they must know there's serious trouble in the wind out there, and know who's involved. And it's strange, if they wanted to stop a group of casuals and football lads causing trouble, they'd know who they are.